channel. It has been a little while since I have made a video. Things have changed, so I'm sure most people that watch my videos come from like my Instagram, so you will know already. This won't be fresh information, but just in case you have stumbled across this video, since the last time I uploaded one, we have announced that we are pregnant with baby number 2, which is so exciting. So Maisy is going to be a big sister and we're going to be a family of 4, which is just, yeah, I can't quite believe it, to be honest, even though, yeah, I'm like nearly 20 weeks and I still feel like it hasn't quite sunk in. But yes, that's super exciting, hence the video title. So I wasn't actually planning on documenting any of my pregnancy. However, I feel like as I have been pregnant, I've been drawn to watching these sorts of videos on YouTube, like first trimester, second trimester, third trimester vlogs, Q&As and recaps, everything like that. And I did it a lot the first time, but I didn't know whether I'd do it so much this time around, because obviously I've done it before and I'm not necessarily looking to gain like answers to anything, but I just find it's really nice to relate back to women that are in like a similar situation to what I'm in right there and then, because you don't always have friends that are at like the exact same stage as you. So yeah, I've really enjoyed watching them, and as I've been watching them I was thinking, oh my god, I wish I documented this with my first pregnancy with Maisy, so I could refer back to it, because in the moment you think you'll never forget like what your symptoms are and what your cravings are and how you're feeling from like week to week, but you do, like at the time it consumes you and you think, oh, I'll never forget this, I'll never forget how bad I feel, and I'll never forget the fact that I just can't get enough of this food, or this food makes me feel crazy sick. But you do forget, and actually now being pregnant for the second time, I'd love to be able to look back and like compare the 2 pregnancies. So hopefully we'll have some more babies in the future, and it'll be really nice to then look back at this pregnancy, have it documented, and look at the similarities and the differences. And yeah, I just thought it's just such a special time, like you only get it once, so I may as well document it. So hence this video, hence the random comeback, which I wasn't really planning on making any videos. Yeah, I'm just really excited to start. So I put a little Q&A on my Instagram. I've already been on stories and said this. I'm always like a bit worried that no one's going to ask me any questions, then I'm not going to have a video to make, but I actually got lots more than I was expecting, so thank you so much. Like, it means a lot when people send them in, because then I actually have the stuff to answer. So I've written them down because normally I have them on my phone and that's what I film on, and then I'm like constantly like going on my phone and then the camera's in a different place. So I've been super organised this time, which is very unlike me. I have written them all down on a big notepad, so if you see me looking down, that is why. And I'm just going to go through them. I'll try to do them a little bit in order. Some of them are quite similar, so I might like, yeah, we'll just go for it. There's quite a few, so let's crack on. I'm out of breath. That is one of my symptoms. I'm out of breath. So also just to say, Maisy is eating a chocolate biscuit, watching Ben and Holly in the background, so if I get disturbed a couple of times, then yeah, we'll go into that. We'll go into having a toddler and being pregnant, because it is a very different experience. So first question, how's your first trimester with this pregnancy different to your pregnancy with Maisy? I feel like there's 2 parts to this question. One is being pregnant with a toddler, and one is just like differences in terms of like symptoms and stuff like that. So I'm going to answer that bit first, because someone that has actually asked what it's like being pregnant with a toddler, and that's a whole different story. So in regards to just like symptoms with this pregnancy, they have been like polar opposite to what they were with Maisy, which is why from the start I felt like we were having a different gender. And I never really know whether to believe all the old wives' tales and stuff like that, you know, cravings and, you know, your bump position and everything. But it just felt from the offset like this is like so opposite to my first pregnancy. So the main one was with Maisy, I had no sickness whatsoever. Like I felt nauseous a couple of times, but that was really it. I can't remember if I was ever sick. I think I was once or twice when I was at work, but it was nothing to like, it was a lot better than I expected basically. This pregnancy has been really opposite, and I think it sort of, yeah, I think it shocked me because I just assumed that I was someone that didn't fall sick during my pregnancies, and I didn't take into account that each pregnancy is very different and you might have different hormones and different reactions. So yeah, I think that took me by surprise, and the sickness was sort of very early on. It was right from the offset, and for me, having no sickness before, it felt intense. I don't want to say it was intense because I have had friends that have, you know, hyperemesis and stuff like that, and in the scale of how bad it could be, I feel really lucky that I was just in this middle ground where I just felt nauseous all the time and sick all the time. And obviously I was sick as well, it wasn't just feeling it, but it never got any further than that. Like, I never needed to go on, you know, medication or anything like that. So in the grand scheme of things, I still know that I'm super lucky, but all I have to relate it back to is my first pregnancy. And compared to my first pregnancy, it was really hard, and it was just really dramatically different in terms of how often I was being sick, and obviously then having to do that with a toddler. Maisy used to find it absolutely hilarious when I was like vomiting over the toilet. She used to find the noises absolutely hilarious, and she used to jump all over my back. And obviously when I'm like home alone, like, I can't get her off me because I just need to focus on what I'm doing. And yeah, it was just an experience. So that was one of the things that was really different. Also, like, cravings were totally different as well, and that was something that I really did kind of believe the old wives' tales about, because my cravings with Maisy were so generic of girl cravings. Like, it was everything sweet and sugary, and yeah, and I kind of thought like that was the one thing that all the way along like gave me the idea that she was going to be a girl. Sorry, I just had to let the dog out, so if I change position, then that's why. Maisy's sort of cravings that I had with her were really generic girl cravings. Like, it was sweet and it was sugary, and it was like a bit sour, and yeah, I just felt like that bit sour, and I just felt like the whole way through that gave me an idea that she was going to be a girl. Whereas this time from the offset, I fancied really salty foods and really savoury foods, and that was stuff that with her I couldn't stomach. But then I did wonder if it was because I was being sick, and then perhaps my body was craving salt. So yeah, there could have been a couple of elements to it, but I didn't really have any major cravings other than like crisps. But I don't know, again, if that's just because I was being sick and it was just really nice to have something like dry inside me. But yeah, I couldn't stomach like really much like fruit or sweet or chocolates. Like, I was completely off that in the first trimester. I'm back on it now. I can eat all the chocolate now. So the next question was, how did you find it with a toddler? Which I feel like is kind of the same question, and yeah, it's definitely a shock to the system. I feel like I definitely took for granted how much I was able to rest the first time around. Like, yes, you have to work, but you come home from work and you can just like go straight to bed, and you don't have to worry about anyone else but yourself. Whereas the second time around, the second time around it's very different, and like, you wake up and then it's like go all day long. They want to be entertained even when you're throwing up and you're being sick, and then the evening comes and then it's dinners and it's baths, and then they finally go to bed at like 9 o'clock in our case, and then I go to bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no let up from like the minute you wake up to the minute that you go to bed. And I found that intense to deal with when I was like seriously fatigued, and on the days that the vomiting was really bad, because you just don't get a chance to stop. Maisy's like very active. She likes to be outside all the time. That's awkward when you're vomiting a lot. And yeah, it was just it's just an experience. I don't think you can even really explain it until you have a child and then you're pregnant again, and just the extreme tiredness and the extreme go off a toddler is just, yeah, it's just a lot. But I have to say, out of what I'm sure a lot of 2.5-year-olds are like, Maisy couldn't have been like more gentle and understanding with me. Like, if I said I felt sick, she'd be like, oh no, poor mummy, and she'd rub my tummy. And if I said that we needed to have a day and watching TV, she'd be really, really good. And yeah, there was at one stage in my pregnancy where I got a really bad cough, and as soon as I coughed, she'd like literally go run into the kitchen, get me my juice off the side and bring it to me and be like, mummy, drink. And she did that when I was sick as well. Every time I was sick, she'd run and she'd get my juice and she'd come and give it to me. So she just like, I feel like she tried to look after me so much, which I never expected from a 2.5-year-old. So I couldn't have asked for her to be, I couldn't have asked for a better daughter. So I'm very proud of her. So next question was, did you know you were pregnant before you tested? Yes, but I kept getting so many negative tests that I just thought I couldn't be. So I won't go like too much into detail, but basically the month that we fell was a month that we were like, let's just relax, let's just stop doing the ovulation sticks, let's just stop trying, because nothing was happening and I was getting stressed, and we were like, well, let's just calm down. So we stopped, and then I was looking back over my dates and I realised that the dates that we had like just didn't marry up at all with ovulation dates. So it didn't make sense for me, like we were like a week and a bit out, like it didn't make sense at all for me to be able to be pregnant. But I had this overwhelming sense that I was pregnant. Sorry, Maisy just wanted to switch the channel, and the bin lorry is outside, so you might be able to hear that. But anyway, I just had this overwhelming sense that I was pregnant, but I know it didn't make sense for me to be pregnant. So I kept putting it to the back of my head. In terms of symptoms, I just felt super bloated, which Jim was like, well, perhaps it's just because it was the lead up to Christmas, we've been enjoying life a little bit more. And I was like, no, like it just feels different. I just feel like I am. I had some cramping, which obviously is hard because I think a lot of the symptoms of being pregnant are the same symptoms as being due on your period. So especially when it's something that you want so much, Jim kept saying like, it doesn't make sense because the dates didn't work out. Stop just getting your hopes up, stop telling yourself that you are, because realistically it doesn't make sense that you would be. And I just thought in my head, yeah, but like I know that I am, like I just feel like I am. But I have said this like every month before and I hadn't been, so I don't think Jim was taking me seriously, but I did feel different this time. But when you said it every month, it's a bit like the boy that cries wolf, isn't it? So I was like, no, I actually do feel different this time, I do. And I kept doing tests from, I think like when soonest you can do it, like 5 days before your missed period, and they kept coming back negative. I did 4 days, I did 3 days, I did 2 days, I did 1 day. They all came back negative, which I kind of expected. And then the day that I was due my period, I didn't come on, and I was thinking, oh, it could be. Anyway, and then I kept testing, and basically I didn't come on my period, and I was 5 days late by this point. And it was only at that point that I did a test that it came back and it said I was pregnant. So I felt like I had like a 10-day wait, because I'd done it 5 days early and then I didn't test positive till 5 days after my missed period. I had like this 10-day wait where I was like, what is going on? And I was so confident that I was, but I didn't really have any strong signs to say that I was, but then I also wasn't coming on. It was just like a really stressful time. And basically it worked out that I'd ovulated late that month, worked out from the baby's due date, and then that's why it actually fitted in that it had actually happened. So it's complete magic. Like honestly, I feel like this baby is so meant to be, because it was complete magic that we even fell pregnant, because it was nowhere near the dates according to my app. But anyway, the answer is yes, I did have a feeling I was pregnant, but every single month I thought I was pregnant, so I don't really know if it was much different. But I definitely was like, I know something is different. I feel like that's the most rambly answer ever, but that is my answer. The next question is, when did you feel your first kick? Heard it sooner with the second. I heard this too, and then I was really freaked out because at like 12 weeks I was like, I haven't felt them kick yet, which is ridiculous because you'd never feel it. Well, you might feel it that early, but I mean I didn't. So I felt flutters from 14, and I was like, I think this is first movements. And then by 16 weeks they were kicks, like they were like boom, like you could actually see them from over my stomach. Jimmy could feel them, and I was like, okay, this is definitely kicks. So I did feel it a lot earlier. With Maisy, I don't think I felt her till like 21, 22 weeks, so it was a lot earlier. But because everyone kept saying you feel them earlier, I like got to 12 weeks and I was like, oh no, I haven't felt baby yet, I hope it's okay. Because I was just getting in my own head. But yes, I did feel them earlier and it was lovely. It's still just as special the second time as it is the first. Like you think that, oh, you've like done it all before, but it's still like just as magic when you feel it. I got this question a lot, which was how long were you trying to conceive for, which I did say on my Instagram before. I'm just not going to talk about it just because I feel like it's quite a personal subject, and not like personal for me, like I am quite an open book when it comes to stuff like that, but I just mean personal as in some people watching it, I don't know, it's just yeah, it's just a weird one, isn't it? It took us longer than it did with Maisy, but in the grand scheme of things we still fell pretty quick in comparison to what it could have been, so I'm really super lucky. When is your due date was another question. I didn't share it this time around just because I feel like with Maisy, because she was like my first baby and I was like so excited to meet her, which obviously we are this baby as well, but I just felt like her due date was like the 23rd of July, and I just felt like I was like, I'm gonna meet my baby on the 23rd of July, like as if I was ordering it and she was gonna come out on the 23rd of July. And she actually ended up, oh no, my due date was the 26th, sorry, but she actually came on the 23rd. But yeah, I actually obviously didn't end up having her on the same day anyway, as most people don't. And I just feel like I'm completely just in a different mind frame this time around. So my due date, I don't mind sharing it, is July the 20th. So it's 3 days before Maisy's birthday. So we're going to have lots of joint birthday parties in the future, and I'm very excited about that. But I just haven't shared it because actually there's like no relevance to it really, is there? Yeah, you have, darling. There's like no relevance to your due date whatsoever. Like I imagine I'm going to have a baby in the month of July, but I mean it could even fall into August, like you just don't know. And yeah, I just feel like I'm so much more like the baby will come when it's ready. Like if it comes in July, great. If it comes in August, great. If it comes 2 weeks early or 2 weeks late, like what will be will be. I just can't wait to meet him when he comes out. Someone else asked, did you honestly not have a gender preference? I always have assumed everyone wants one of each. And I so understand this question because honestly, like when I was growing up, I was always like, I want a boy and a girl. Like who wouldn't want one of each? I remember my parents always saying that they were so glad that they'd had a boy and a girl and they'd got to experience both. We always, if I'm honest, our big thing, Jim was always so desperate to have a girl. Like he always said he wasn't really that bothered about boys. He just really wanted to have one, like a baby girl. Like he had always imagined his girl. He'd always had a name picked out for her. He'd always just imagined he wanted to have like a daddy's girl, and that was his thing, which actually was like one of the main things that made me love him so much, because I just feel like as a man you expect like men to want a boy's boy and the girls to want a girl. And yeah, I just thought it was really sweet when I met him. It was like one of the first things I swear he said, that he wanted to have a girl. So I feel like with Maisy, I'll be honest, there was like quite a lot of pressure for her to be a girl. And once we found out she was a girl, obviously we were delighted and we were really happy, and it was just the best. But I feel like I really wanted a girl as well with Maisy, just because I wanted like that mother-daughter bond. But I feel like as soon as we had a girl, like it was like a win-win going forward. So if we had another girl, it would have been amazing because we clearly love having a daughter, and you know, the idea of having like another mini Maisy running around and her to be best friends with would have been just beautiful. But then also we were so excited at the prospect of having a boy because it was a completely new adventure, and we'd never browsed the boys section before, and we'd never done a boy nursery. And Jim started saying actually it might be quite nice to have a boy because we could look at like dinosaurs and tractors, and even though we do all that for Maisy anyway, like she's not a girly, well she's a girly girl, but she also loves all that sort of stuff anyway, like she's got loads of dinosaurs and tractors, but it's just like a completely different avenue that like you've never explored before. So we could genuinely, and I still don't think people believe us, but like I've got nothing to lose now because we know it's a boy. But I genuinely think if it was a girl, we would have been just as happy. I think the only difference is like when we saw the blue go off in the cannon, there was like this exhilaration. It's like, oh my God, like it's completely fresh. Like it almost feels like you're having a baby for the first time again, which perhaps we wouldn't have had so much with a girl, but we'd have been excited for other reasons. So no, like we genuinely didn't have a preference. But now that I've got to do all the boy stuff and I have got to do all the shopping and I am designing like a boys nursery, like I have to say it's really exciting. And now I'm like, okay, actually I feel like I feel like I wouldn't have known that I wanted a boy unless I was having one. But now I feel like I'm having a boy. I'm like, actually, okay, this is super exciting and I'm really glad that I am having a boy. So yeah, I don't feel like we had a preference. Now that I know I'm having a boy, I'm like, yeah, this is really good actually. So that's me just to be as honest as possible. The next one was, I'm gonna sit down because honestly my feet are so numb. I'm not a lightweight to sit on my feet anymore. I've got heavier and yeah, it's not as comfy. Hopefully that's still okay. So the next question was, can you tell us more about the home birth and why you want one? I love the idea, but I'm too scared. So the main reason I want a home birth this time around is one, because I didn't have like the greatest birth with Maisy. I wouldn't say it was a positive birth. It also wasn't a dreadful birth, and it definitely could have been a lot more traumatic. Definitely felt traumatic for me, but at the end of the day I came away with a healthy baby, which as a mum is all you ask for. So yeah, I definitely feel like I had like quite a lot of like birth trauma after, and it was something that I even looked into, like getting, I don't want to say therapy, but I wanted to talk to someone about it because I really struggled with elements of what had happened. And when Maisy came out, like she wasn't breathing and she had to go on the resuscitation table, and there was quite a few elements that took me quite a while to get over. The main reasons for wanting a home birth are, one, that I want to be at home with Maisy. I have never left Maisy, so she goes around the block sometimes with Jim on her trike, but apart from that, she's pretty much glued to my hip all day. So the thought of me needing to be in labour for potentially like 3 days, like I was with her in hospital, fills me with dread. And I know that I wouldn't be able to relax, and I know that I'd be so panicky, eating an ice cream and she just dropped it. So I know that I would be running on adrenaline in a hospital environment, and I wouldn't be able to relax, and obviously I think that would slow down the process. And yeah, it's just not the environment that I want to be in second time around. I'd love to be at home. I'd love to be, have the fire on, fairy lights, relaxing music, all the hippie stuff. Like, that's what I want this time around. I want to be surrounded by Maisy, the people that I love, like the oxytocin levels, I just imagine would be through the roof. And I just know that I didn't feel that way when I was in hospital. It doesn't actually scare me at all, if I'm honest with you. And that's even after us sort of needing care straight away after Maisy's birth, because I know that a lot of the things that they do in hospital they can do at home anyway. So they have, oxygen here if your baby needs it, like what Maisy did. I know that if my baby needed anything like urgent, it's not like we live in Australia and the nearest hospital is like a 2-3 hour car drive away. Like, it's a tiny country, and my nearest hospital is 15 minutes down the road. Like, if we needed to get somewhere quick, we could get somewhere quick. And yeah, I just feel like I would have the safest birth at home, because I wouldn't be worried and my body would be naturally, creating all those hormones that's gonna bring my baby into the world. And as hippie as it sounds, I cannot just imagine doing it in a hospital, which is what makes me really nervous this time around. The only thing I'm nervous about the home birth is not being able to have one, because if I went into a hospital, I just genuinely don't know how I would cope this time around. Just because I would have so much worry and concern over predominantly leaving Maisy. The main thing is Maisy, but also I just feel like it's really important, the environment that you give birth in. And I probably wouldn't have done it with Maisy because she was my first one, but I do feel like this time round I know what to expect. I am slightly worried about the pain and not having any sort of, I was going to say birth control, pain relief, just because last time with Maisy I did However, I was in labour with Maisy for 3 days before I had any pain relief, and my contractions were coming like every 2.5 minutes. So I kind of feel like I was in labour for 2.5 days, for 3 days. So if I can be in labour for 3 days, I like to think that hopefully this time round it'll be quicker, because it's my second, which it usually is. I know there's no guarantees, and hopefully it won't go on for 3 days. And if I did manage it for 3 days with no pain relief, hopefully I can manage the whole thing with no pain relief for however long my labour is this time. Does that make any sense? The next question is, will you do anything different with the next baby? Which I thought was actually a really interesting question. The only thing I would probably do is use like sleep aids sooner. So with Maisy, we never used like white noise or like a baby shusha or anything like that. We never used anything like that, or even really like dim the lights, like to put her to sleep. Like I would just hold her in my arms, like watching TV or chatting to Jim or listening to music until she fell asleep, and then I'd just go to bed with her. So I feel like this time around I would get more into a routine in terms of not even times, but just like when it's her bedtime sleep, I would be like, okay, so the lights go off and white noise goes on, and you know, I'll feed you until you fall asleep, so that then when she gets older, when she starts, I say she, but it's a he, I need to get used to this, when he sees the lights go off and when he hears the white noise, he associates it with going to sleep, which is something that Maisy never really had, and I think is one of the reasons why we struggled with her bedtimes for such a long time, because she didn't have any sleep associations to say it's bedtime now. It was sort of like play until she crashes, whereas we never had like that wind down period. That's something that I feel like we only sort of introduced when she sort of turned 2, to be honest with you. And since we've done it, she sleeps like an absolute dream now. So I feel like that's something that I would introduce earlier, just so it's easier for everyone and just so the baby understands what's expected. Because I feel like with Maisy, we're like, oh my god, she's not going to sleep till so late, but we weren't actually telling her it was bedtime, which I mean sounds ridiculous when you think about it, but I think when it's your first baby, like you don't think of stuff like that, like you just almost expect them to know. So yeah, I would definitely do that differently next time. And in terms of everything else, I'm still going to be like the very earth mother, you know, natural baby wearing, co-sleeping, breastfeeding. I'm not going to change anything, because I just think, obviously I'm biased, I just think Maisy's turned out into like the most beautiful little girl. So I don't want to do too many things differently, because I'd be so proud if he turned out exactly the same way that Maisy has. But yeah, I'm not going to do anything different in terms of like, I'll still feed him to sleep. I will still do all the things that you shouldn't do according to, you know, books and things, because they've worked great for us. And yeah, there's not really much that I'll change, to be honest, other than perhaps just like learning what we didn't do with Maisy and implementing it into the next one. But there's nothing that I did with Maisy that I wouldn't do with the next one, if that makes any sense. So the next question was, what's your least favourite thing about being pregnant? Which is actually, I feel like no one actually talks about the bad stuff. Like all you do is talk about like how great it is and this, and it is great. But actually it's quite nice being able to talk about the negative things sometimes, because sometimes you feel guilty for it, for like having hard days and stuff. So my least favourite thing is just like not having as much energy to play with Maisy, but that was more so like in the first trimester, and I do feel like I've got that second trimester like burst of energy back now, which is really, really nice, and I'm really enjoying being able to like run around, and at gymnastics we go like crazy together and we like jump onto mats, and it's really, really fun. So I feel really happy now I've got that back, but I really struggled with feeling like I wasn't being a fun mum in the first trimester, but then I also had to remind myself to like give myself some like grace, because I was like vomiting all day. Who wants to like jump around and dance when you're vomiting? But yeah, so that was really hard. And more than anything, what I've struggled with this time around is just, and I had it with Maisy as well, but I feel like second time around it's slightly different, and that's just like the anxiety of being pregnant. And I'm not going to say it's worse the second time around, but I feel like it's very different, because I feel like you've been pregnant before and you know what the end result is. Like, you know the end result is a little person that you're just going to love beyond all measure. And I feel like because you know that, and you know that that's exactly how you're going to feel with the baby that's in your belly. Yes, darling. I feel like there's a greater amount of stress based on your pregnancy, because you are fully aware that if anything was to happen negatively to this baby, how much you would have to lose. Like, you know what you would be losing. Does that make any sense? I don't want this to sound really morbid, but I feel like it just, you have like this realization that perhaps hasn't quite sunk in with the first one because you haven't experienced it yet. You have this realization of like, oh my God, at the end of this, there's gonna be, you know, an actual son or an actual daughter. So I feel like perhaps I wasn't as anxious as the first one for that reason, but a second time around, I'm like, this is like big. Like, this is a big deal if something goes wrong, because this is gonna be another little person that I'm gonna adore as much as Maisy at the end. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm just trying to like say how hello baby. It makes sense in my head, so hopefully it came out as I wanted to. So the next question, I've only got 4 left, was, do you have a name picked out? So the answer is yes, and I love it so much. I love his middle name as much as his first name, and then when I say all 3 names together, so first, middle and last, I just adore it, and I can imagine his little character, and I feel like his name really suits the clothes that I bought for him, and it really suits his nursery. And the big thing for me, as I'm sure it is with like all second-time parents or third-time parents, is I really wanted to like write his and Maisy's name next to each other. Like, how do they look? How do they sound? Like, if I say this is Maisy and this is blank, like, how does it sound together? Like, does it sound cute? Like, if you wrote their name on the bottom of a greeting card, like, what would it look like? And I've done it so many times, and every time I do it, I'm like, oh my God, like, I love it so much. So yeah, I'm so excited about it. And it was actually really nice because hello baby, I loved the first name, and Jim really liked it as well, but he was like, I just feel like it's missing something, like it just needs a really, really good second name. And then he came up with the second name, which I love that he came up with it. And as soon as he said it, we were like, yes, like it could not be a better name in our eyes, obviously. Second name, I feel like is quite, I feel like you'll either love it or hate it, which I like even more because we love it so much. So that's all that matters. But yeah, I adore it. And as soon as we said it, we were both so excited, and straight away we were like, nothing is going to beat it. Like, let's lock it in. And then, sorry, Maisy's tapping. And then literally that night, I was like, I'm going to go upstairs because I want to do some shopping. And I went to bed early, and I ordered like a little train that has his name on it. And then I sent it to Jim, and Jim was just like, I'm just so happy with this name. And then yeah, we've like told most people it already, to be quite honest with you. Obviously only like close friends and family, but yeah, it's super exciting. I don't feel like it's ever anything that we'd be like, get to the end and we're like, oh, he doesn't look like that, because I just know he will. Like, I can just see his little face. So next question was, will you have a birth plan? And I don't really know the answer to this one. I guess loosely, in the sense that I want a home birth, and that I obviously in my head wanted to go a certain way, and I want to use, you know, all the normal things. Like, I want to use the word surges rather than contractions, and you know, a lot of the things that we did similar to Maisy's, but obviously in like a home environment. But I just feel like my mentality with it this time is so different to how it was with Maisy's, and I'm just so much more relaxed. I'm just like, he'll come when he's ready, and you know, I might be in early labour for 3 days, and then, you know, he might come at the end of the week, or it might be really quick, and I'm just going with the flow, and it just feels really good. I feel like it's taken away all the anxiety of going into labour, being so relaxed about it. I just feel like, yeah, I just feel at peace with whatever happens, as long as I'm at home. So yeah, I'll probably do a loose one, but yeah, nothing. Oh, do you want me to phone? Do you want to say hello quickly? Hello. Hello. Hello everyone. Can you show them on your phone? Oh wow. Oh wow. Who are you calling now? Oh. You're calling Maisy, that's nice. Right, last 2 questions. So I feel like Maisy's just moved my tripod, but we're just gonna go with it. This one just says nursery decor, question mark, adore Maisy's room. Maisy was just really loud. I don't know if you heard that. Nursery decor, adore Maisy's room. Thank you. I love doing nurseries. I think they're like my favourite thing ever to decorate. I'm guessing you want to know like what's the plan with it. So I'm gonna go for like a sage green on the walls. I'm really struggling to find a green that doesn't look like jungly, because that's not the vibe that we're going for. I want to go for like a farm, vintage, really just traditional little boys room. And I feel like a lot of the greens have like a really like khaki undertone that just isn't my vibe. So I'm really struggling. I've honestly got like, well, literally I have got 12 paint samples upstairs of green paints and I still am unsure. I'm between 2 at the minute, and my friends have both said they all like different ones, so I'm just really confused. And yeah, the vibe is just going to be just traditional and basically like Maisy's room, but in boy version. I just want it to be, I kind of want to make his room a little bit more babyish though, because I feel like he's the youngest and I really want it to look like a nursery, whereas I feel like with Maisy's room we were like really excited to put like a big girl bed in it and like to make it like a really like grown-up girl's room. But I just feel like with this baby, like I really want it to be like a little boy's nursery for like as long as possible. So it's probably going to be like a lot more babyish than perhaps what Maisy's room ever was. But yeah, I can't wait to decorate it. I've got big ideas of what I want to do with it. It's a bit of an awkward shaped room. It's like the perfect room for a nursery, but it's a bit of an awkward shape because it's quite long but it's quite narrow, so you can't really put stuff along this side because it makes the room look really small. So you don't actually have that much room for like storage. Yeah, so we need to figure out what we're doing in regards to that, but I'm confident it's going to be super cute when it's done. Maisy is super ready to play, so I've got to finish this one quick. But the last question is, do you think you'll still want more children now you'll have both a boy and a girl? And I thought that was quite a cute question to finish on. Yeah, I do. I do think we will. For me, as I said, it was never about having like a boy or a girl or having, you know, any sort of gender in general. It was just about, I love the idea of having like a big family sat around the table. And I know it's not always going to be idyllic, but like them having siblings to like look after each other and look out for each other. And yeah, I love the idea of like, you know, big Christmases. And I think me and Jim we both come from like relatively small families. Like we don't have loads of cousins or, you know, loads of brothers and sisters. We both, he's got a sister and I've got a brother. And I feel like that's something that we both have said it would be quite nice for us to like break that cycle and for us to have like quite a big family. Like, you know, I'd love to be, you know, the mum and have all my children come back to me at Christmas. Did I say Thanksgiving? I feel like I said Thanksgiving rather than Christmas. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm just having baby brain. But I really love the idea of having all my children come back to me at Christmas time. You know, like the big Gavin and Stacey Christmas. Do you know what I mean? Where you've got like lots of people around and you've got cousins and you've got, no, I can't really control that, but you've got like lots and lots of siblings, and I don't know, I just love the idea of that. So yeah, Jim's really happy with the idea of 3. I'm thinking if I can get into 3, I might be able to get into 4, so we'll just see how we go. But yeah, I reckon we will still have more, because as I said, it would have been the same if we'd had 2 girls, and I'm sure people would have been like, oh, they just want to have a boy, but it's not about that. For me, it's just about having like a big family unit. I think that's just really special. So yeah, anyway, that concludes all the questions. Thank you for sending in so many. It's been really fun to film, and I'm really glad that I'll have this as I said, to look back on for future pregnancies. But yeah, I am now 20 weeks next week, so before I know it, I'm going to be out of my second trimester and into my third, so I'll be doing my second trimester update before long. So if you've got any questions regarding that and how it's been or anything, then please either leave them below or message me on Instagram. Yeah, I would love to hear them. But you want mummy? Okay. Now, okay. Right, I'm gonna go. Do you want to say bye-bye to the camera?
Bye-bye.
Good girl. Good girl.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that's lovely. Right, I will see you next time. Bye.